Another policing story ends in a funeral. That means we have another chance to ask if one person's end, this time 20-year-old Daunte Wright, killed by a cop who thought she had a taser out, will this end create a beginning for change? Now, like most social problems, this is complicated, right? Half of you say black people have a better chance of being struck by lightning than by a cop. Then why are so many people of color looking up at the sky so often? Let's look at the data, you say. That's as much a false corridor as it is to any kind of path to reality. How do you want to assess? How many are killed by race, armed or unarmed? You want to do crime by race? You want to do raw or by percentage of population? How about by police contacts? How about by community? How about our stops that don't result in arrests? Or how about arrests or use of force as a function of type of stop? How about stop and frisk versus compliance versus a culture of subservience being forced upon a people? When you look at it that way, we'd rather avoid the numbers, right? It's easier to say, I support Black Lives Matter, or I support the blue. But what do we know? That conflict, that polarity, is the reason for the bruise on our society. We can't be a black and blue society. It has to be about what this country is about for everyone. And that idea gets so daunting that we can't wait to forget about Daunte. Of course, there's a pull to move away, if only to avoid the pain, if only to pretend it's just so pointless, to avoid the problem and all its complications. But I have to ask, aren't enough of you just tired of shrugging your shoulders? This is the time to stick. Now, I don't mean pile on. I don't mean demonize police. The changes that we need are to help the police as much as to help anyone. But we have been doing it wrong by cycling from crisis to crisis, because there's always a case. There was a case as we waited on the Floyd case verdict. Then, before we could get straight on what happened and why a cop may have had to shoot 16-year-old Ma'Khia Bryant as she lunged at another kid with a knife, there came another case. A man killed by police in North Carolina. How did serving a search warrant turn deadly? Now, in that case, we have a familiar problem. No body cam video. Transparency is everything, especially when there is so little trust among those in the minority. A big reason that the Bryant shooting kept people from the streets was that we all got to see what happened. She was charging at 2 other girls with a knife on Tuesday. One got knocked to the ground, the other is the girl in the pink sweatsuit. The officer, first to arrive on the scene, he did have a split-second decision to make. You may not like it, but that is the decision. There are too many where we can't see that reality. Then you say, well, but why are people upset here? Well, first of all, they're upset because a kid died. And because there's something else that you have to recognize. There's not trust between police and these communities. They've been kept in the dark on too many cases to trust easily. So even when they can see it, they are left wondering. There was another case in Columbus, Ohio. Did you know this? Back in December. A police officer named Adam Coy shot Andre Hill, who was a guest at his friend's home, not an intruder. A neighbor had called in a complaint. There was a car sitting in front of his house, being turned on and off. Cops come, they find a black man in the garage, they tell him to lift his hands. Guess what he does? He lifts his hand, has a cell phone in it. The other hand is obscured. As it starts to come out, the officer gets spooked. Gun, 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 gun! Shoots him 4 times. No weapon recovered at the scene. The officer now charged with murder. Oh, see, system worked, you say. Hardly. The answer is not simply to punish what's done wrong when a life is lost. And by the way, punishment has turned out to be very challenging. But the key is to figure out not just why it went wrong, but why can't it go right for people who are black as often as it does for people who are white? What I mean is there are so many instances of cops acting differently towards white suspects who even actually have weapons, who are like openly hostile to them. And they don't get taken down with deadly force. Just last week, police say this guy trapped a cop's arm in his truck window while attempting to flee. Police say. We all saw it in the video. There's video of it. He drags an officer away, hanging by his arm, later attacks the officer with his own rescue hammer. Look at him. He looked like they laid a hand on him? That's how he was arrested. Oh, I thought you said they're not supposed to hit him. The point is that people who are minorities want to wind up looking like this when people from their number gets arrested. How about this guy? Body cam shows a suspect a while back in North Carolina attacking a deputy with a knife and reportedly stabbing him. What'd the deputy do? Used a taser, not a gun. Arrested alive. The police officer did the job the right way. The police officer's job sucks that he has to get involved in this. But he didn't shoot him. Why not? Now, I don't want him to have shot him. Would he have shot him if he were black? Oh, we can't answer that. Yes, we can. That's the point. How about this guy in Florida? He allegedly attacked his family and was wielding a knife as cops arrived, and the officers reportedly pulled out tasers and were eventually able to apprehend him. Would it have been different? I don't have cases to show you where people are brown and black in that situation. Now look, if you want to go case for case, I'm happy to do that. There's this supposition thrown out all the time. Man, this happens to white people way more. Show me the cases. Not one here, one there. If it happens that much more, and we, white people, are well over 50% of the population, show me the regular flow of cases of people who don't deserve it, who get their ass whooped and worse by police. Now, by the way, you know what the truth is then? Now you'll agree that there must be a problem with policing, right? But more specifically, you don't see that flow of cases. You just hear them mentioned because they don't exist. I don't want to cover these cases anymore.